Hey folks, today we're going to be rebuilding my Windows 98 custom build. And you've seen this previously in vintage, I think it was a vintage Windows 98 PC Resurrected or vintage Pentium 3 Resurrected or something like that. And in the Pimp My Pentium 3 video that I did just to be a goof really. And today I decided that I didn't want my Windows 98 build in a tower anymore, because the rest of my vintage machines are all the desktop style case that lay horizontally. So what I did is I bought the case that was in this box. It's an HEC case. Here's the case itself. This is an HEC case that was basically made for a Prescott Pentium 4. It's from that era, I think, and still sold today. It has 1 millimeter thick steel, which is just crazy. Which is really nice. It's got your hard drive and power LEDs. It has a reset. I think this is a reset button here. It's got 2 3.5-inch bays, 3 5.25-inch bays. A really heavy-duty power button. Listen to that. That power button means business. I really like it. It has that vintage feel that a lot of computers have, where they just feel really tough and well built. Here's the back of the case. It's pretty typical. This is ATX size, by the way. This is one of the few ATX style desktop cases I could find. And of course it's an older one, so there you have it. Take a look at this ROHS sticker. It's from 2002. That's crazy. As you can see, you get, I believe these are 60 or 70 millimeter fans here. 2 of them. I don't need them because this Pentium 3 build runs very, very cool. It comes with an I/O shield for some reason, which is actually nice because that'll be useful for older machines that have this layout. It takes a standard ATX style power supply, which is good because I'll just use the one that I've been using with it. Go away, Windows Vista. You're not wanted here. It has a full array of PCI slots with real slot covers that appear to be removable, which is really nice. So let's take the cover off and see what you get. Alright, got the case open. It has this crazy canal that's supposed to be used for Prescott Pentium 4 chips, which is kind of cool. That comes off with a screw here. Has drive cages, which I really like, so I can just take this drive cage out, put a hard drive, a zip drive, and a floppy drive in there, which is what I plan to do. Looks like you get a bag of goodies. A bunch of hardware and screws and whatnot in the bag. Treated with volatile corrosion inhibitors. Do not use with foodstuffs, risk of hazardous substances. So this probably has nasty chemicals in it. Nice. Oh, it has your typical front panel connectors. Looks like that's a light. Looks like this is a light right here. That is weird. I don't know what would go here. I guess maybe a speaker. Here's where a front fan would go. I believe that's an 80 millimeter fan right there. Although the vent holes aren't very big, so I'm not sure how effective that'll be. Yeah, it's really it. It's a pretty simple case. So what I'm going to do is I'll go over the hardware that'll be going into this case, and then we'll get started. Okay, here's a bunch of the hardware that'll be going into the case. So let's start with the power supply. This is the same Enlight power supply I've been using on my 98 build for quite a while now. It's a 300 watt Enlight power supply. You can see the ratings right there. You can pause to read those if you want. And there you have it. Got the I/O shield I ordered for this board off of eBay a while back. And here's the board itself. This is an FIC first mainboard socket 370 board with an Intel 440 chipset. So the chipset's quite old, but it was a really good chipset if you didn't want to use things like RDRAM. So there you have it. It's got plenty of PCI slots. It's got an AGP slot up here. And it's got 2 ISA slots, and those are helpful because I have a sound card to put in there. Here's the video card that I use. It's an Nvidia RIVA TNT2. I'm hoping to get a Voodoo card at some point, just for fun, so I'm not sure the Nvidia card will stay in there, but this card has been just fine with everything I've thrown at it, so that's probably what's going to stay in there for the near future. And of course, a nice long sound card. Soundblaster AWE32. It's technically an SB32 because it's a CT3600. So, you know, that's that. This is an excellent sound card in Windows 98. I've been really happy with it. It has pretty good FM synthesis and OPL emulation on the card. It's one of the all-32s that does not have the real OPL chip on it, but it does a pretty darn good job of emulating it without any real issues, so that's nice. One thing I forgot to go over is the I/O on the back of this motherboard. This is from an era when you didn't really get anything on these boards. Look at that. You get pretty much nothing. 2 serials, parallel, USB 1.1, and PS2, and that's really it. Not much. Here's the hard drive I'm using in this machine. It's one of these Slimline Seagates. I believe Maxtor also had these. I don't know if these are bleed over from the old Maxtor stock or what, but these Slimline Seagate and Maxtor drives tend to be pretty good. It's an ST340015A, if you're curious. So, there you have it. Drive works very, very well and is nice and quiet, so I'll be using that in there. I also have a Mitsumi floppy drive that I was going to use, but it's white and the case is black. And as nice as this drive is, I've got a better one sitting on top of this box for a switch. A nice grayish black floppy drive. Looks like it's a Panasonic drive, but it works, so there you have it. That's what'll be going in the machine. Since the case is black, I'll be sticking this black, looks like Hitachi LG CDRW drive in there. I believe I picked this out of a Dell Dimension 2350 I used to have years ago. The drive is from 2003, so that's why I'm saying that. It's one of the few black IDE drives that I have that actually has the right pinouts, that are, well, at least the pinouts actually work for the CD audio cable. So I'm going to have to hunt down a CD audio cable and stick it in there. And there you go. That is all the hardware that will be going into this machine. So I'm going to stick it in the computer and show you how it all turns out. I've also decided to put this ZIP 100 drive that was given to me by Road Geek here on YouTube, actually, in there temporarily until I can get a ZIP 250 drive. This is a ZIP 100 drive, but yeah. The only discs I have are 250, so I need to get a 250 drive, but this will be an excellent placeholder in the meantime. One thing I just noticed is that down here in this case, it actually has it marked for ATX, AT, and Micro ATX, so this thing's actually built with the AT standard in mind as well. That's crazy, man. This case can handle anything. It's a perfect case for a retro machine. I really like it. Alright, I have it all together here. At least apart from the top cover, so we'll go through it. You get your LEDs here, that reset button that's really difficult to push. I have to hit that with a screwdriver or a pen or something to make that go in. Like, let's take this TD Bank pen here. I have to really push that in. Really hard. Here are the two drives in the front. Got the floppy drive and the ZIP 100 drive. This drive will not be staying in here. I did manage to find a black zip drive, so I'm going to stick a black ZIP 250 drive in there and use that. There's the CDRW drive. Of course, here's the drive cage. There's that 40 gig Seagate drive. I found out that was a 40 gig drive, so I'm good to go with that. Here's the Enlight power supply. Here's the whole board here. I haven't plugged the drive in. I actually unplugged a bunch of these to swap some things out so the cables look a bit messy. So I got to plug these drives in the drive cage here and again, but you get the gist of it. Down there is the Pentium 3, right below this hole that was made for a Prescott, so that's kind of overkill. Over here I have the all-32. and the Nvidia RIVA TNT2 graphics card. So since Windows 98 is already on this hard drive, I figure I'll boot it up and we'll take a look at it once I plug everything in. Alright, I think it's time we boot this thing up. I got it all set up, got one of my one of these little Cherry ML AT keyboards hooked up. It's the AT version, but I have a converter to convert it to PS2 for this machine, so that works. Plus I have one of these Logitech trackballs. So let's boot the machine up and just take in the beauty of this industrial power button. Oh, that's nice. Not a very loud computer, which I like. Even the Seagate hard drive is not that loud. It's an FIC first mainboard motherboard. There's Windows 98. The hard drive light is just on. There you go, Windows 98. There you go, Windows 98 second edition. So it's not the crappy first edition by any means. It says genuine Intel, but it's a Pentium 3 733 MHz with 128 megs of RAM. So there you have it. So that's a Hitachi LG CDRW drive. It sees the zip drive. Generic IDE disk. So it sees the ZIP 100, but it doesn't show it in my computer for some reason. No clue why. Nvidia Vanta LT. Well, it's a TNT2. I don't know why it says that. There's a Creative Labs IDE controller on the sound card. And there's the Intel one. Microsoft Natural. You mean the Microsoft Unnatural keyboard? Hey, it recognizes the LCD monitor I'm using. That's kind of cool. There you go. All 32. Look at all this stuff. There you go. There's not much to this. It's your typical Windows 98 install. I've got Half-Life and Opposing Force on here along with some other games. I haven't installed a whole lot yet, actually. I do have 3D Ultra Pinball and some other stuff on here. I have Office 97, it looks like. Yeah, I do. Nice. So I do have Office on here, at least. Runs really fast. So this will be my 98 build in this computer. Or in this case, rather. So that's going to be really nice. Not much to show, but I really like this case. So that's really cool. I'm going to be using this to play later 90s games. I played Lego Racers a lot when I was a kid at my friend Preston's house. I found that game at the thrift store, but I don't think the CD works properly, so I'm going to have to hunt that down. I know I can get it. I know where I can get it. It's just a matter of getting it. Yeah, and there's other stuff I played as a kid. A lot of childhood nostalgia. Like this, like Hasbro Interactive had a game called Sorry, which is literally the board game on the computer, except that they made it hilarious with all these voices and stuff. I might have to do a video about that game sometime. So, I have Audacity on here for some reason. Oh god, look at that. Look at that just 128-bit color there. That just looks bad, man. Because it's in 256 color mode, I think. So there you go. That's Windows 98. I mean, there's nothing too special about Windows 98. But yeah, there you go. That's the Windows 98 build. I'll be adding a ZIP 250 drive that's black to this, so expect that to change to one of those. The floppy drive and the CD drive I think will stay the same unless this drive doesn't work, but as far as I know it does. So there you have it, folks. That is the Windows 98 build in its new case. And it's on a tower full of all these computers. This is part of a new computer setup I have that I still need to make a video of. I've got the 98 build on top, and I've got several machines underneath. This whole thing right here is going to be subject to change at some point, so I'm going to have to make another. I'm just going to make a separate video basically touring the whole computer setup because I've changed all of it around. So there you go, folks. That is the Windows 98 build in its new case. I really like this case. 1mm thick steel is just hard to find these days, so I grabbed it. I like it. It's really nice. So I'll get a ZIP 250 for this thing and then pretty much call it a day. It'll be good to go by then. So cool stuff. Alrighty, folks. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.